Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna and this morning we're visiting Kristin Hildabrand, Warren County Extension Agent for Horticulture. But today you're going to tell us how we can take care of it, because for some people without a green thumb,
yes,
indoor winter plants might intimidate them.
Yes, and I can totally see why, because it's like a totally different ball game when you talk about bringing things indoors. But what the nice thing about Amaryllis is that they're super easy to care for. They're not as probably as challenging as, say, some of the other houseplants could be. But with the bulbs that we purchased from Riverbend, they have exactly on the tag what you kind of need. So sometimes just knowing that there's a tag with some information makes you feel a lot better. So this one particular, this Dancing Queen that we potted up yesterday, it says that blooms generally begin about 2 to 3 weeks after you place them in kind of a fairly warm environment. And if you think about our homes this time of year, they're going to be warm, so you don't have to really worry about the temperature. But if you can just place it in an area that gets plenty of sunlight, so that way it can start activating that bulb to start growing. And probably the number one thing that is really crucial to Amaryllis, like we would treat like a house plant for bringing indoors, is the water, the watering factor. So, you know, generally after we potted this up, we would take it to the sink and water it and just kind of make sure that it runs out the drainage holes. And then after it kind of drains completely out, then you want to take it back to its location, basically anywhere that's got some sun. And then what you want to do is, over the course of the days that go by, just kind of feel around on that soil media and see if it feels wet. You don't have to water. If it feels dry to the touch, then you'll want to go ahead and water. Generally, about the first 2 inches of soil is generally where you want to feel around. And, you know, when we purchased from Riverbend, she also brought in a couple of other examples. These are definitely on the dry side, so you can see exactly when it does need to be watered. Again, take it back to the sink. Apply that water. You can just do it with a, you know, a pitcher. I like it to stay away from the bulb. You want to, again, just water it where that root system is. Yeah, because if you want to stay away from this at all, because it, you know, will promote rotting and soft spots, and then you won't have a beautiful bulb later on. But one of the things is that you do want to water it sparingly until it starts to sprout. And generally right here at the top of the bulb, that's where it's going to start to sprout. And then after it starts to do that, then you can water it more frequently, because again, it's going to be putting a pretty tall stalk. You know, these bulbs are fairly big, so it's going to have either 1 to 2 stalks with, you know, 1 to 2 blooms on it, depending on the size. So you do want to make sure that you kind of watch for that as it's growing.
And they do get rather tall. And so this is kind of a more shallow one, but it doesn't have the drainage hole. And so if somebody wanted to use this decorative tin for their Amaryllis, would they just put rocks or marbles in the bottom to kind of create a drainage?
Yes, that is really good. A good point you made there. They can use marbles or rocks. I know a lot of people like to keep their bulbs up, and that's a great way that they can do it if they don't have a lot of drainage in that particular type of container. I've seen some people too, when they water, Joanna, they've taken like a spray bottle, just so that way they can make sure that that's watered basically right at that root area, because again, we want to keep this completely, you know, away. Probably one of the things that if you water in too much, it attracts a lot of fungus gnats. And so if you can, again, just make sure that you feel around with your fingers to know when to water, and as it starts to really put on blooms, then you can add more water to it as well. After it blooms, we get a lot of questions there. It's like, what do I do after if I wanted to keep these bulbs? And the thing about it is, you want to keep it growing, even though after it's put out, you know, its blooms. A lot of times people don't, if the blooms begin to fade, you can cut those off after they've bloomed, when they really look ragged. And then whenever the stalks really start to yellow, then that's when you can cut this off at the base, and then again, keep with the watering like you would any type of house plant. Just treat it like a house plant. And Riverbend has some great instructions that came along with this if you wanted something more in writing about how to care for it, if you wanted to keep it years and years. And they said that, you know, you can keep this a long time if you treat it just the way it needs it.
So easier than the poinsettia that you have to put in the dark and do all these things. So it is nice, and it's the gift that'll keep on giving each and every year, especially if you have a green thumb friend. I mean, this would probably be right up their alley.
Oh yeah, like I'm gonna have to get several after, you know, learning more about it. So for sure. sure.
Well, Kristin, thanks for the information. And if you have questions about caring, selecting your Amaryllis, make sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for watching and have a great day.